Hello everybody, welcome to this video. I'm going to be talking about LAN architecture. So I really apologize firstly for the delay in producing new videos. Unfortunately, life's gone the way and is delayed the release of new videos, but I did promise this video and apparently saying LAN switching, so I'm really happy and really excited that I've finally been able to bring it to you guys. So please stay tuned for new videos and let's get into the lesson. So welcome. This lesson is going to be 4 parts, so looking at 2 and 3 tier architectures, so collapsed core or 2-tier, and then your 3-tier architecture, Ethernet unshielded twisted pair standards, power over Ethernet standards, and then finally optical multimode standards. So firstly, we're going to talk about access switches, core switches, distribution switches, or rather access switches, then distribution switches, then core switches. So with access switches, one of the main jobs is providing physical network access for end devices, wireless access points, so PCs, laptops, and voice over IP phones, wireless access points. Then power over Ethernet is an important job because now switches have kind of evolved from not just being devices that provide access to our end devices, but also providing power. So things like wireless access points and voice over IP phones, you don't need to have a bulky charger, a bulky power supply with them, with the brick and the power cable. There's no need for them when they power over Ethernet devices. So this is quite a great feature of access switches. Now, redundant uplink, so spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, and ether channel. That's another job's been is the redundant uplinks with spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, and ether channel. Quality of service trust boundary. So this is an important feature of quality, important part of quality of service. And access switches can be the trust boundary. It could be a voice over IP phone, but many times it's the access switches are the trust boundary. So that's very important to know that as well. The security. Now, hopefully these terms are quite familiar to you. I've made videos about them: DAI, DHCP snooping, port security. So these are also features of access switches. These are the responsibilities that they perform. Now, let's look at distribution switches. Well, distribution switches, they're connecting our access switches into our network. They do a very important job as well. So a better way of saying is that they provide an aggregation point for our access switches, and they basically provide that aggregation point for the access switches, so providing connectivity to the rest of our devices in our local area network, and they are leveraged to build a core, a core, and that can either be in a 2-tier or 3-tier model. So a core layer, the distribution switch of playing an important job in building that, because you need the distribution switch to have that core, have a topology with a core in it, either a collapsed core or a separate core. So either in a 2-tier or 3-tier form factor. Now, layer 3 features. So first top redundancy protocols, default gateway, inter-VLAN routing. So these are also features of the distribution switches to perform those layer 3 routing functions. Quality of service as well, and the implementation of dominant routing protocols such as EIGP, also SPF, and finally IPv4 and IPv6 packet filtering using access control lists. So there's quite a lot that distribution switches do. Moving on to the core switches. So if we look at core switches now, they provide connectivity between distribution switches. One of the main jobs is fast layer 3 switching and providing high availability. When we have core switches, then there's less need for to have so many links. It reduces how many links we need. So it's in a way it can help us save money on investing in more and more links, because the core tier, we can use a few switchboards and links while connecting our buildings in our local area network. So because when it comes to our links between buildings, the cables that are running outside of the buildings, they're often very expensive for installation and especially when you look at fiber. And fiber, there's a cost of SFP modules, QSFP modules, and so if we can reduce how many number of cables that we're connecting between our buildings, that helps reduce costs. So core switches are very helpful in that factor. Now, so yeah, one of the main jobs is layer 3 switching. Now, I'm going to talk about mesh and partial mesh topologies, right? So full mesh and partial mesh. So a mesh topology is one that has more links than a star topology. Now, a star topology, you can imagine a node and then you got links coming out of it. Well, a mesh topology, right, is like here. So you got the nodes connected to every other link in the node in the topology. Partial mesh is not quite there. There's some links missing. So it's not all nodes are directly connected to each other. So it's a bit more simpler to implement than a full mesh. Now, when it comes to mesh, full mesh, there's an important formula. So we can carry. There's a formula to calculate the number of. Sorry for that error there. To calculate the number of links required for a full mesh, as a very formal formula. So n is the number of nodes. So we do number of nodes, and then in brackets n, the number of nodes minus 1 divided by 2. This is our formula. It's very, very important to note down. So if you have a pen and paper, or you have your computer in front of you, please make a note of this. It's very important. That's the formula for calculating how many nodes we need. How many links we need in a full mesh topology. Now, there's no single formula for partial mesh topologies, and really because the topology is not uniform, so that we can't have a specified formula for that. So it's a bit more math there that we need to do. Now, let's look at this 3-tier building design being used at a school, right? So this is a school. This is a 2-tier collapsed core topology, right? So here we've got a school, 3 buildings, green, red building, and blue building, red building, and the green building. So these are 3 buildings for one school. Now, here you can see you got you got 4 access switches there. Now, I would like you to imagine, because there's not enough space on this whiteboard, that there were 10 of these, right? Just imagine there were 10 there, 10 there, and 10 there. Okay, the concept still stays the same, but imagine there's 10 of these actually. So imagine this is carrying on to A5, A6, A7, A8, A9, A10. These are the access switches here. These are the distribution switches, right? So you can see there's here we've got, if you look at here, these are linked up to every single distribution switch in this building here. They're in the red building. The distribution switch is connected to every single access switch. Every single access switch is connected to the distribution switches in that building. Okay, there's 2 links coming out of every single access switch, and then finally with the green building, you got 2 links coming out of every single access switch into the distribution switches. Now, between the distribution switches, they've got connectivity to every other distribution switch. Okay, so you can see that there are you can see there's links coming out of all these devices, right? So there's 4 coming out of here, 4 coming out of here, and 4 coming out of here. And there's also links going across. So that's your 2-tier collapsed core topology. Now, if you look at this, this is the 3-tier core topology. So you can see there's 2 core switches now. So like the previous example, you see the access switch and the distribution connectors, they're all connected to each other, right? So there's 2 links coming out of each access switch to the distribution switches in the respective buildings. But then the distribution switches now connected to the core switches. See, so there's connectivity between the distribution and the core switches. Now, the core switch doesn't connect to the access switches directly. It connects through the distribution switches. The distribution switches are connected to the access switches. Okay. So that's your 3-tier core LAN topology. Now, if we move on to part 2 now, Ethernet unshielded to standards, right? So this is an exercise for all you guys watching. So what I'd like you to do is look at this table. I'd like you to pause the video and I'd say give yourselves 2 to 3 minutes. Try and memorize as much as you can of this table. And then please unpause the video. So please pause the video now. Try and remember as much as you can, because I'm going to ask you to do a little exercise on a pen and paper. So please get a pen and paper out ready, because there's going to be an exercise to do after you've looked at this. So please pause the video now and give yourselves 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so I hope you've taken time to do this exercise. Now, what we're going to do is going to move on. I want you to now pause video again. Try and write down as much as you can remember. As much as you remember. If you can copy the whole table, great. That's brilliant. That's excellent. So either from that you've got an amazing memory, or you've got quite some experience with this topic. So you've already got a good understanding of the concepts, which is great. So either way, please pause video, try and write down as much as you remember. So yeah, you might be in the situation where you can remember a lot. Maybe you can remember some. Maybe you can't remember much. Whatever happens, just try and write down as much as you can remember. Give yourselves again. I'd say give yourselves 2 to 3 minutes, and then please unpause the video and carry on watching. Okay, so I hope you're taking time to do that exercise. Now let's move on. So, how much could you recall? Okay, don't worry. If you couldn't remember much, don't worry. I'm going to give yourselves an analogy of a family, right? To help you remember these standards. Because I really think these standards are like a family. And so, a family of siblings, in fact, who get cool and cool in succession. I think it really helps to understand this as a family. So, I'm going to introduce you to this family. Please get ready. So, this is a family based on that table. It's just, I think, a good analogy to remember those different standards. So, what I'd like you to look at is here. So, firstly, you've got 8 siblings. Okay, so we've got 8 siblings. And we start off with Olivia, Uriah, Abby, Anne and Annie, Bailey, Brooke, and Brooklyn. And you'll see why I named these siblings with these names. There's not just for any there's no reason. If you can't really tell, I'll tell you. It's so if we look here, 8.3, 8.3u, 8.3.ab, 8.3an, 8.3an, 8.2.3ba, 8.2.3bz, 8.2.3bz. Now, you might have in CCNA exam, a possible question could be to ask you to identify a particular 8.3 standard. Now, if you're anything like me, I really had a hard time remembering these, so I thought let's create a little analogy to help me remember that. And I think this hopefully could help you guys as well. So basically, the names are based on these 8.3 naming conventions, right? These names. Some are not that obvious, like Olivia, for example. There's not even a letter after. A reason I named Olivia is because that's the original standard. So I wanted a name with O, and thought Olivia is a nice name. So I've given this person the name Olivia to represent the original 8.3 standard. Then we move on to Uriah, 8.3u, Abby, 8.3ab. So AB and Abby. Anne, 8.3an. Annie, because there's 2 types of 8.3an, so I created 2 siblings there. So Annie is the second variant of that. Bailey, 8.3ba, 8.3bz for an 8.3bz. So there's 2 variants of this. I've named these siblings Brooke and Brooklyn. And let's start off with the first sibling then. So Olivia, born in 1990, is the original standard, right? She's the original standard 10 base T. So she represents the original standard 8.3, released in 1990, 10 base T, 10 meg per second, and it used Cat 3 cabling. So I'm saying that Olivia has 3 cats to represent that. So out of all the other siblings, she's the one that is the least of a cat fan. And you can see as in succession, the cat cabling that's used increases. So I've given these siblings more cats until we get to here, which I'll explain why. Uriah, 8.3u, actually the only boy in this, out of 8 siblings. 8.3au, so U for Uriah. 1995, the standard release, so I'm saying Uriah was born in 1995. 100 base T, so we can do 10 times the speed as of the previous standard 8.3u. So used Cat 5 cabling. So we look at 8.3u, used Cat 5 cabling, 100 meg per second. So that's why I'm saying Uriah has 5 cats, okay? So try and remember this as a family. I think it'll help you guys. 5 cats. Now, Abby, 8.3ab, okay, so 8.3ab released in 1999, 1000 base T, can do 1 gig per second. That's the speed for that standard. Now I'm saying that Abby has 5 Explorer cards, 5 E cards. Okay. Now that is to represent Cat 5e cabling. So if you look at Cat 5e, if you look at H.3b, use Cat 5e cabling. So that's what I'm saying. Not just 5 cats, but 5 Explorer cats. E to mean Explorer. So the Explorer hopefully differentiates between Cat 5 and Cat 5e there. Moving on to AN and ANI. Okay, so there's two variants of H.3AN. Okay, so one used Cat 6 cabling, the other used Cat 6e, and that meant the speed difference as well. So if you look back, again, Cat 6 used could do a distance of 55 meters. Cat 6a could do 100 meters. So if you need to do anywhere above 55 meters, going up to 100 meters, you'd use Cat 6 cabling over Cat 6. Now that can do 10 gig per second. Okay, released in 2006. So there's two siblings there to represent the two variants of this standard. Now, Bailey H.3BA, the biggest cat fan out of all of them. So H.3BA uses Cat 8 cabling. So this standard was released in 2010, 40 base T, 40 gig per second. That's the high speed out of all these standards. So Bailey is very, very quick. We're going to say she's an athletic champion there. She's a, let's say she's a marathon runner and she's a marathon champion. So she's the fastest out of all of them. Okay, biggest cat fan. Okay, so eight cats, right? Super cat fan. So meaning Cat 8.3BA used Cat 8 cabling, 40 gig per second it can do. So yes, the fastest standard out there. So moving on to the last two siblings now, Brooke and Brooklyn. Now these are don't quite do the speed of Bailey of H.3BA, but there's a reason, because what happened was is that there was we need an alternative to getting 1 gig plus speeds for organizations without ripping out existing 5e cabling. If you had an organization between 1999 and 2006 that would have installed Cat 5e cabling, that organization, right, would have invested quite a lot of money to install this type of cabling. However, when it came to the new kid on the block in 2010, a Cat 8, H.3BA, which we call Bailey, this was doing 40 gig per second. Now, organizations might want to get faster speeds than 1 gig. Okay, with Cat 5e cabling, you're not going to get more than 1 gig, and then you got these new standards out, which are doing plus 1 gig. Okay, so an alternative was created to get gigs speeds over 1 gig without ripping out existing 5e cabling. Meet multi-gig Ethernet, and it is awesome because also known as H.3BZ, this supports 2.5 gig and 5 gig speeds, but you're not having to change your cabling. You don't have to rip out your Cat 5e cabling to install Cat 6 or Cat 8 cabling. Now, bear in mind, those do speeds higher, but you're still getting from 1 gig to 2.5 or 5 gig. That's still an increase, and so you're getting over 1 gig per second speeds with using the same cabling. So it's quite good. Now, if you wanted to get 10 gig, then you need to go to Cat 6. You need to go to Cat 6, and remember, and that's for, remember, does a maximum distance of 55 meters. Now, if you wanted to over that, then you're looking at Cat 6e cabling, and if you want to get over 10 meg per second, then you're looking at Cat 8 cabling. So it is quite awesome, and that's why I've created these two siblings to represent that. So Brooke and Brooklyn. Now, like Brooke has a short name than Brooklyn, this does half the speed here. It does less speed, 2.5 gig. 5 gig is the other variant. So there's two variants here, and this runs, like I said, on Cat E cabling, which is awesome. So that was released in 2016. Now, if you look at this table again, I've created another column in there, so hopefully you can associate these standards with one of these metaphorical people. Okay, so hopefully this will help you. Now, let's go into part 3. Now, power of Ethernet, very important topic. Power of Ethernet basically employs the device as the power sourcing equipment. Now, that normally is going to be the switch, which power your IP phone, your wireless access points. Now, this device is being powered. The device that's being powered is referred to the power device, the PD. So remember, power sourcing equipment is your switch normally. Powering your IP phone, your wireless access points, your device that's being powered is referred to the power device, PD. Now, PoE, sorry for the typo there, PoE reduce the need for things like power bricks, power cables for IP phones. So it reduces, it just clears your desk space as well, which is great. Now, power over 3 classification. Now remember, there's a 4-step process here for determining how much power that the power sourcing equipment should apply to the circuit. So we have two important terms: power detection and power classification. So power detection identifies that a device needs power, otherwise no power is transmitted from the power sourcing equipment. Layer 1 power classification sends lower power signals and monitors the return signal to check if the device is a power device. Okay, so layer 1 power classification is sending low power signals, and then what happens is a return signal is sent from that power device if it is indeed a power device. If there's no return signal, then this power classification process doesn't succeed, and then there's no power given to that. There's no power transmitted from the power sourcing equipment. There's basically a process here to identify if that device on the other end actually is a PoE device that requires power. And so this is the initial process, is that sending the low power signal down that cable and then monitoring the return signal. It's like saying, hello, is there a powered PoE device connected on the other side? Please respond. If not, you don't receive any power. It's just like you go to a drive-through. If you just, if you go to a drive-through, if you go to McDonald's or Burger King, you go to the drive-through, you stop your car at the speakers and the microphone speakers, and if you don't say anything, what will happen is, firstly, obviously, the person from McDonald's or KFC will say, hello, welcome to McDonald's, can I take your order? Now, so you can think of that as the switch sending that low power signal. Now, if there's nothing returned, if the driver does not respond, the driver doesn't get any food. It's simple as that. Just like here, the power sourcing equipment will is basically asking if there's a power device there, does someone need power? If the power device doesn't respond, there's no power sent. Now, if we move on to step 3 now, let's say the power device did respond with that return signal. So if there's the power classification process for layer 1 has passed, we know there's a PoE device. Then what happens is an initial power level is determined by the PSE and provided to the power device. So the PD kind of is the PSE, the power source equipment thinks, okay, right, I think you need this much power. I'm going to send this much power. Let's see how it go. Okay, so in the drive-through won't really work for this example. You ask for how much food you want, and then you're going to be you'll receive that much food, and you'll be billed for that much food. But this is kind of doing like a guesstimate, saying, oh, okay, I think you need this much power. Let's see how it goes. I'll give you this much power, initial power level. Then the layer 2 power classification process happens, and this is where the power that's being transmitted can be corrected, so if it was not correct to begin with. So we use link layer discovery protocol. It's the open standard of discovery protocol, right? For as the link, that's the basically open standard version of CDP, which is Cisco Discovery Protocol. Basically, these protocols are used for layer 2 power classification. So the power device itself is going to tell the power class is power class 2. This is important. Power class, you'll see, is going to tell its power class to the power sourcing equipment. Now, if the PD thinks its power class is different, then what happens is the power sourcing equipment will adjust this to reflect the power to layer 2 power classification. So it's a very important process that's happening there. Now, let's look at this table. It's a very important table. So you can see what's happening here. You've got PoE 82.3 AF. Okay, so that's the name of that standard. 82.3 AT is PoE plus. So start with PoE, right? 82.3 AF is the name. Okay, 15 watts. Okay, so that's standard. 15 watts. Power class is 0, and we're only powering 2 of those wide pairs there. So only 2 wide pairs are powered. Whereas with PoE plus 82.3 AT, there's 30 watts. Okay, so that is 30 watts. Use a power class of 4, and 2 like PoE as well. 2 wide pairs are being powered. Now, moving on to UPOE and UPOE plus. So both refer to the 802.3BT. Okay, both use that standard name, but there's a difference in here. You'll see. So 60 watts, the power class is 6, and 4 powered wide pairs are powered, and UPOE plus 802.3BT again, 90 watts, power class 8, and then 4 wide pairs are powered. So very important to remember this table, because you could be asked in the exam to identify one of these standards, or how many wide pairs are being used in one of these standards or something. But it can definitely, this is very important to know for the exam. So really to take the time and learn and memorize this table, maybe using another analogy to help you. Now let's look at the POE LAN design considerations. So let's go back to the whiteboard. This is a little whiteboard here to hopefully just illustrate some of these, to more brainstorm the different considerations we need to be thinking about as a network engineers, network administrators, when we are installing PoE devices and we need to power PoE devices in our LAN. So firstly, we need to think about the switch power supply. Okay, so is that our switch capable of not only powering itself but providing all those devices? It's got its own responsibility to power itself, but now it needs to provide maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 voice over IP phones. We've got end devices. Is there enough power supply? Now, something also important to know when it comes to power is that the power consumption can be different to actually the standards. So while these standards say, look, 15 watts for PoE, 30 for PoE plus, UPoE 60 watts, UPoE 60 watts, UPoE plus 90 watts. When it comes to the actual consumption of the device that's actually connected, like the IP phone, it might not necessarily be any of these numbers. So that's something also we need to take into account when we're making our decisions. Now, power devices, we need to think, what devices are we actually connecting? Is it voice IP phones, wireless access points, PCs, laptops? Different devices can use different power levels. Not just actual device, but actually make a model. For example, we could have Cisco IP phones, we could have Yealink IP phones, we could have Polycom IP phones, and devices. It comes to devices. Are we using laptops? Are we using PCs? What's actually connecting wireless access points? The makes and models that can be important as well to remember. Now, to take into account power requirements as well. Something also important to think about. Now, when it comes to the switch ports, we need to think. Remember that at the actual switch, do we have enough ports in our switches to support all those devices? And we need to make sure that actually these standards, so for example, we want to leverage UPoE and UPoE plus, do our switches actually support them? Because they might be old and not support them. So that's something also to think about. Now, finally, optical multimode. Now, optical multimode, there's 4 standards we need to remember. So optical multimode 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, actually, I've got a video which I'm going to now play, and this will discuss all of these standards. So
hello everybody, welcome to this video. I'm going to be talking about optical multimode cabling standards. So optical multimode 1, 2, 3, and 4. Some key details to remember. Firstly, core cladding diameters. So this is measured in micrometers. Optical multimode 1 has a core clad diameter of 62.5 and a cladding diameter of 125. Now, optical multimode 2, optical multimode 3, and optical multimode 4 all have a core and cladding diameter of 50 to 120 and 125 micrometers respectively. So that's OHM2, OHM3, and OHM4. They all share the same core and cladding diameter. Now, 1000 base SX, when it comes to 1000 base SX, the maximum distance per standard for optical multimode 1 is 220 meters. Optical multimode 2 increases significantly to 550 meters. And optical multimode 3 and optical multimode 4, well, there is no defined there's no defined maximum distance for 1000 base SX because these standards came out later after the introduction of 1000 base SX. So moving on to 1000 base SR, maximum distance for 1 and M2, 33 and 82 meters respectively. When it comes to OM3 and M4, they increase significantly to 300 and then finally 400 meters in optical multimode 4. So that's optical multimode standards there, just in a nutshell. Thank you for watching.
Okay, so moving on. That is actually brings us to the end of this video. So thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you benefited from this video. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. That all helps. And please do comment as well. And yeah, I'll see you in another video. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you. Goodbye.